Mrs. Prasada Rao, Uday, ladies and gentlemen, 8th of April last month, this day was a great watershed for all of us here in CSIR when we got this shocking news. We have a WhatsApp group created some 4 years ago where most of the retired CSIR scientists and senior directors, even director generals are members. And when we got this news, it was a really very big shock for all of us. Losing such an active member who was a fatherly figure to many of us all of a sudden sent shock waves, and most of us were left speechless. Condolences messages started flowing in, and many of us could not even properly sleep since messages crisscross in the country were being exchanged till midnight. All of us wondered what the family is planning for the funeral. I could find email of Uday from one of Dr. Prasada Rao's earlier emails. So I sent him a short email asking about the program. Fortunately, he replied quickly and saying that the funeral will be taking place in the ancestor village Abidi. And we were keen to send a flower wreath from our side on the body of our beloved leader, but we couldn't manage that. But we sent some flowers when the family reached back in Hyderabad. So, about 2 years ago, there was a request from some of the members that we should create a discussion board to discuss, since we are all scientists in the group. So I created a platform on my website, my personal website, which was most actively participated by many senior directors, among him, and Dr. Prasada Rao was the most active. And he contributed a number of stories, about his relationship with even late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and P.V. Narasimha Rao, and so on. So we have chronicled those stories in our Srishti platform. I'll maybe read some of those portions just to highlight his persona, on the personal front, personal side. I also compiled, what our CSIR family members condolences message they sent in our WhatsApp group. And when I started my compilation, it just came out representing a shock in somewhat philosophical tone. So I said, "और हम झुके झुके मोड़ पर रुके रुके, उम्र के चढ़ाव का उतार देखते रहे, karma guzar gaya gubar dekhte rahe." And then we paid our tributes to Dr. Prasada Rao. I'll read out some of the messages which some of our members wrote on that site. This one is from Dr. R.A. Mashelkar. He writes, "Deeply shocked and grieved to hear that Prasada Rao is no more. His last communication with me was to invite me as a chief guest for the Arangetram for his granddaughter in Hyderabad, which I could not unfortunately attend. Kind, gracious, joyful, always helpful, a true team man, as well as a leader, his contribution to IIP and CSIR would be remembered forever and ever. We were close friends from the IPCL days, almost over 5 decades. Spoke to one of his family members just now and will speak to Uday, his son, once he lands today. CFG will be always beholden to him for always holding us together gently but firmly. Our collective heartfelt condolences to his beloved family. We pray to the Almighty God that may his noble soul rest in peace. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I can't read. We have another director, Dr. T.S.R. He writes in a very subtle tone. He writes, "This is a sad Friday indeed. He kept CFG together, fatherly in word, wise, and yet a colleague. When he thought you would need it, he would phone. So accomplished, yet with enough time for everyone. May his soul rest in peace and continue to inspire us. Goodbye, Dr. T.S.R. We have another colleague, Dr. Bhojwani, many of you may be knowing. He was very close to Dr. Prasada Rao. He writes, "Absolutely devastated to learn that our dear friend is no more. He was the charm and binding glue of the CFG, a personal friend to, a personal friend to all and everyone in CFG, calling and inquiring about their interests. He was a human being par excellence, affable, generous, and caring even for the humblest person that he knew." Then we have Dr. Prakash, the former director of CFTRI, Mysore. He writes, "He was the nerve center of CFG and also many directors' meetings during Dr. Mashelkar's time as DG CSIR. All those snapshots flew across in front of me before I write these lines as I in silence remembered the man. We have lost a very, very close friend and a live wire indeed. The family must be in deep shock. May God give them lots of strength to bear his huge loss." Then we had a very senior person in our planning division, Dr. Bhargav. He writes, "Very, very sad to learn the devastating news that a gem, a fine, exemplary human being is no more. I had gone to IIP to welcome him to CSIR family and assure him all help and cooperation from the headquarters. Such a kind and loving soul, ever ready to everyone in need. He silenced all the groupism in IIP, giving meaningful turn to research programs. Also acted as director of CBRI for a few months. Great man with a great vision. Personal loss to all of us." Two years ago, when we established this discussion board, Srishti, our former Director General, Dr. S.K. Joshi, expired. And Dr. Prasada Rao was very close to him, almost like a personal friend. So he wrote in memory of Dr. Joshi. So this is Dr. Prasada Rao. He writes, "It's really devastating news. I spoke to his wife today in the evening. Only she told me that he went to AIMS 2 days back, and since last 2 days, mostly he was sleeping. I never thought that this news comes to us just a few hours after I talked to her. So sad. For the CSR family, it's a big shock and a terrific loss." And we celebrated something like a memory reminiscence after 10th day of Dr. Joshi's death. Again, Dr. Prasada Rao wrote in a very long note. I'll not read the complete one, but I'll read some excerpts from it. So, Prasada Rao. So, Dr. Prasada Rao writes about Dr. Joshi after his death after 10 days. Today, 24th May 2020, is the 10th day of his passing away, which is the last day of the mourning period. According to our Indian tradition family, members and kith and kin pay their last tributes on this day. In his tribute, he says, I like to record here my memoirs with this great person. In the year 1992, I sent a proposal to Oil Industry Development Board for the lump sum grant of rupees 10 crores for IIP for modernization of laboratories. On one morning, around 11 a.m., I got a call from the office of Captain Satish Sharma, who was the Minister for Petroleum at that time. His PS called me in those days. The minister himself was the chairman of OIDB. His secretary told me on the phone, Prasada Rao ji, Minister Sahab told me to inform you that he is going to approve your proposal today in OIDB meeting. He wants that someone should come here and collect the proposal and get signed by the Director General and return to our office by 2 p.m. So that was the dilemma Dr. Prasada Rao had. That day happened to be 26th of September, and which is the foundation day of CSIR. He writes that that day happened to be 26th September, CSIR Foundation Day. Professor Joshi Sahab was on the dais with President Shankar Dayal Sharma ji. Now, how to get his signature within an hour? That was a question. So he tried to persuade the people around who were managing the stage show, and somehow he sent the proposal to Dr. Joshi on the table when the president was sitting next to him. He read it with his slip and immediately signed and returned, and the job was done. So he is expressing his gratefulness to the Director General, how great he was, how kind he was. So that was his persona. The same day, IIP got 10 crores, and that changed the laboratory for the good. When he met the Director General later, he asked for apology. Then he said, no apology. In fact, I should be grateful to you that you sent this message, and that was important because for the organization, this is more important rather than the celebrations and other things. On reading this note from Dr. Prasada Rao, Dr. Bhojwani writes, Dr. Rao, while reading this, I had tears in my eyes. Yes, indeed, he was the finest human being. I have had the privilege to work with him. His humility hid his grit and courage. That was about Dr. Joshi. Then Dr. Prasada Rao also writes about his interaction with Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao when he got award from his hand. He writes, Honorable late Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao ji enters into his birth centenary today that we call as Satta Jayanti. On this occasion, I recall my interaction with him and like to pay my tribute. I recall with a sense of gratitude when I received the coveted FICCI Award in September 1993 from his benevolent hands. Then he points out to the picture where P.V. Narasimha Rao is giving the award to Dr. Prasada Rao. And he says, look at this picture, P.V. Narasimha Rao, Dr. Rao, Dr. Prasada Rao, and said, you need another award because you made the Prime Minister smile. And many reporters also made the similar comment. Then he also goes on further writing about the qualities of P.V. Narasimha Rao. He says, I may briefly mention the economic reforms he brought into the country. He saved the country from going bankrupt. He was also first one as Prime Minister who increased rural budget 5 times. He also changed the name of the Ministry of Education to Ministry of Human Resource Development, bringing a focus on human beings as a resource. He was a linguistic scholar par excellence, knowing many languages at the same time. On his Satta Jayanti today, I remember him fondly and pay my tributes to him. Very lately, last March, he wrote a note on Atalji, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He writes, Atalji was a different character. He always respected members of the opposition and opposition leaders. He had special regards for P.V. Narasimha Rao. Let me write a brief interaction I have had with Atalji. Congress and P.V. Garu family organized a prayer meeting in Delhi to pay homage to P.V. Garu on his first Jayanti. I was also invited and I attended the meeting. I sat in the last row. After a while, Atalji silently walked into the meeting room and sat next to me in the last row. We spoke for a few minutes and asked him why he was sitting in the last row while he should have been on the dais as a former Prime Minister. And then I got up, reached the organizers to inform them about his presence amongst us. Atalji tried to stop him, but he went ahead and then got P.V. Prabhakara Rao, the youngest son of P.V. Narasimha Rao. And Atalji was then taken to the dais in front. So that is the humility and simplicity of our great Atalji. That's Dr. Prasada Rao says. So like this, we have many stories in our Srishti platform. I have also chronicled his Lifetime Achievement Award. I will not read it, which all you know. So I think this is all I wanted to say. Lastly, I would like to add that last November I was in Hamburg with my son, and when I arrived there on 8th of November precisely, they were organizing Hamburg India Week. It seems there are quite a few Indians in Hamburg, many of the relations of Subhash Chandra Bose and others. And there, it was a week-long program, many events. There was one seminar on energy, which I went and attended. And they were talking about green hydrogen. And of course, it's very visible. If you go and see in Germany, they are changing the whole energy landscape with wind turbines and whatnot. And the interesting part was there that Germany and India wants to have collaboration in green energy. Germany says that if India produces enough green energy, they will buy. They will give the technology. And this is what I spoke to Dr. Prasada Rao, that now time has changed. You know, when I was head of the international in CSIR, I promoted almost 50 projects with Germany in electronics, in oceanography, in aerospace, but not in energy. Just before my retirement, I wanted to have some programs, but I couldn't succeed. And here, it was the opportunity when Germany himself was coming to India to make this happen. So I spoke to Dr. Prasada Rao, and he was so excited. He said, "You come back, we will do something." But sorry, nothing could. No, the time has not permitted us. But this is all I think I wanted to share. It's all on the personal side. And we pray to the God for his soul to rest in peace. Thank you.